It is January 28th, 2016. This is Jeff Knuckles recording for assignment PA3 in SE456. So this for this assignment, we not only had to sort of finish up and create managers and to handle all of our images and textures and sprites. We also had to create a batch sprite manager so that groups of sprites could be drawn together. And we also had to work in not only the sprites themselves, but also the sprite boxes. And so as you can see by what is playing currently, I have drawn 3 boxes. There's a green one, a red one, and a blue one. And those sprite boxes are all on one batch together being drawn with a single draw command. And then I have a second layer of batch of sprites for the gun and the UFO, which are animating down the screen. And then I have a third batch which has 3 different aliens in it, which are animating up the screen from the bottom. I wanted to make sure that I kept some animation going in this one, even though this assignment wasn't really about the animation. It was more about organizing batches of sprites and being able to create and name images, textures, and the sprites and sprite boxes themselves. So I thought it was kind of funny in the class recording that, and even on the Piazza discussions, how confused some people were about how to the purpose of each of those 3 groups: the texture, the image, and the sprite itself. And they were sort of not grasping that a texture is not just one sprite's image being pulled, but you've got the texture with many different little squares of images, and you're just sort of calling out one specific rect of that. And then the secondary rect that you're using is actually just for the position of the sprite. So going forward from here for PA3 or PA4, before I start that, I've got some changes and some refactoring I'd like to do before getting too deep into the animating the sprites to go back and forth. Mainly the fact that we've got these batches I've called them batch, just like the professor had. I don't really like the term batch because the batch is sort of about how you're drawing them and not really how they relate to what is on the screen. So being a graphical person and having worked with a lot of graphics programs like Photoshop or Illustrator, they always have layers, and layers are how those objects are grouped and put on top of each other. And so I think I'm going to go through and rename anything that's batches, the batches to layers. And then I've got I've moved everything that was in D-Link and C-Link into the container class, but that sort of left those, not just sort of, but it left those classes and possibly even the managers for those completely empty. I mean, there's just nothing in those. And I believe there was a discussion about whether we needed so many different classes for those, and there was saying that we would, at some point, they would be different, and we would definitely need those. So I'm thinking maybe I need to go back and look at how the ones that inherit from D-Link and C-Link, which would be image, texture, sprite, and even I've got a one for color, how those are, what functions or methods in those that I could move up to the C-Link and D-Link classes, if there's anything I could pull out of there to make those worthwhile at this point, or if maybe they're just fine the way they are. I'm not sure. So I need to go back and look at that as well. Don't remember if there was anything else that I know there were a couple other things that I wanted to go back and simplify. Oh, and then I didn't mention the game object manager. I did start on the game object manager, and I haven't gotten too far with that, but I know that wasn't one of the primary focuses of this. It was more like you were wanting us to get started on that, and I did get started on that. But my graphics currently are not being, the sprites aren't being assigned to a specific game object, and then so I'm going to work on that also before I start on the animation thing. And then my plan is to do a prototype with the timing stuff and the animation stuff before I actually try and pull that into the Space Invaders examples. So I guess moving on to doing some refactoring, and then starting on PA4. Talk to you on the next assignment.